In the stillness of a July morning, wrestling lost its loudest voice. Hulk Hogan, the Immortal, passed away at 71. Another day began in Clearwater, Florida, but this time, not even Hulkamania could kick out. In his final days, he was still showing up for fans, smiling, storytelling larger than life. Slower steps, rougher voice, but the same spark when he spoke about slamming Andre or launching the NWO. Now the arena is quiet, but his legacy? Still roaring. This isn't just a story. It's the final chapter of a superhero. The heel turn that shook the world. The battles that nearly broke him. And the reason why Hulk Hogan still lives in the hearts of believers. This is the last ride of the Immortal. He wasn't born in a cape. He didn't arrive on a silver screen or leap from the pages of a comic book. Yet somehow, Hulk Hogan became a superhero, one clad not in armor, but in muscle, sweat, and American spirit. For over 4 decades, he wasn't just a figure in the ring. He was the figure, a cultural force whose name echoed in playgrounds, living rooms, and arenas across the globe. There are entertainers, and then there are myths. Men who transcend the boundaries of sport and spectacle to become symbols etched into the collective memory. Hulk Hogan was one such myth. He didn't just climb into the wrestling ring, he owned it, turning every entrance into a triumph, every match into a morality play of good versus evil, and every victory into a rallying cry for millions. For decades, Hogan was the embodiment of an ideal: strength, patriotism, perseverance. He wasn't just a character on television. He was a living comic book hero. And in a time when children were bombarded with cynicism, Hogan offered simplicity. Fight hard, believe in yourself, do the right thing. That's why he didn't just entertain, he inspired. Behind the bluster and bravado was a man who understood the power of hope, the need for heroes, and the magic of moments. When he cupped his hand to his ear, when he tore his shirt down the middle, when he flexed into the camera, it was more than theatrics. It was ritual. It was mythology in motion. Hulk Hogan didn't need a cape. His ring was his battleground, and every time he stepped into it, fans believed again. Humble beginnings. Before he was a household name, before the world called him Hulk, Terry Bollea was just a tall, quiet kid growing up in the sun-drenched streets of Tampa, Florida. Born in Augusta, Georgia, and raised in a working-class family, Terry's life wasn't always red carpets and roaring crowds. His father was a construction worker. His mother taught dance. Life was modest, ordinary even. But even then, something about him stood out. He wasn't just big, he was bigger. Bigger than the kids in school, bigger than the dreams most dared to imagine. He loved music and played bass in local bands. He trained in martial arts. He spent hours lifting weights in dimly lit gyms, sculpting himself, not for fame, but for purpose. He studied heroes on screen: Superman, Conan, the great gladiators of Hollywood, and wondered, what if I could be that guy? Fate intervened when he caught the eye of wrestling trainer Hiro Matsuda. It wasn't an easy introduction. On Hogan's very first day of training, Matsuda broke his leg, a harsh test of resolve. But Terry didn't quit. He healed, returned, and earned his respect the hard way. That was the beginning of something larger than life. He took on the name Hulk after being compared to Lou Ferrigno, the actor who portrayed the Incredible Hulk. And from there, destiny accelerated. Wrestling promoters saw the spark. Audiences saw the star. Soon, Terry Bollea was gone. Hulk Hogan had been born. What followed wasn't just a career, it was a transformation. From the modest Florida boy with calloused hands to a global icon with arms raised in triumph, Hogan's rise was no accident. It was the product of will, timing, and raw, unstoppable charisma. Hulkamania runs wild, The psychology of a slam behind the roar of 93,000 fans at WrestleMania was a moment steeped in uncertainty and trust. Few knew that Hogan, the night before the match, had sat in his hotel room scribbling match sequences on a notepad, unsure if Andre the Giant would allow himself to be slammed. The plan was fragile. Andre's back was in terrible shape. He didn't confirm the finish until just minutes before the match. Backstage, Hogan hovered near Andre, watching him sip Crown Royal and play cards. Then, with a calm nod, Andre said, "Don't worry, boss." That wasn't confirmation, but it was enough. In the ring, when the crowd reached a fever pitch, Andre finally leaned in and whispered, "Slam me, boss." In that moment, Hogan not only lifted a 520-pound man, he carried the weight of an industry. That slam didn't just make headlines, it made history. And as Hogan later revealed, he tore a muscle in his back doing it. But he never flinched. By the mid-1980s, Hulk Hogan was no longer just a wrestler. He was a phenomenon. Hulkamania, the whirlwind of fanfare, catchphrases, and explosive entrances, became a cultural force. Children wore the red and yellow, ripped their T-shirts down the middle, and mimicked Hogan's iconic poses in their living rooms. He wasn't just a hero, he was a role model, telling fans to train hard, say their prayers, and believe in themselves. His matches were events, his presence electric. Hogan headlined the inaugural WrestleMania in 1985 and turned the event into an annual institution. But it was WrestleMania III in 1987 that truly elevated him into legend status, as he battled Andre the Giant in one of the most iconic matches in wrestling history. Television, toys, lunchboxes, cartoons. There was no escaping Hulkamania. Hogan crossed into mainstream pop culture like no wrestler had before. He appeared in films, on talk shows, even Saturday morning cartoons. Wrestling was no longer a niche sideshow. Thanks to Hogan, it was everywhere. The heel turn heard around the world. The turn he almost didn't make. What fans didn't see behind WCW's Bash at the Beach in 1996 was just how uncertain Hogan was about turning heel. For over a decade, he had been a beacon of goodness, a hero to millions. Shedding that skin was no small thing. Right until Showtime, Hogan debated pulling out. WCW had backup plans ready in case he bailed. The internal conflict was real. But when the music hit and the booze poured in, Hogan leaned into the moment like only he could. By becoming Hollywood Hogan, he didn't just change his image, he reshaped the wrestling landscape. The risk paid off, and once again, Hogan proved he wasn't afraid to evolve, even if it meant shattering the image he had spent years building. But legends evolve, and even heroes must sometimes fall. In 1996, the unthinkable happened. At WCW's Bash at the Beach, Hogan shocked the world by turning heel, aligning with Scott Hall and Kevin Nash to form the villainous New World Order, NWO. Gasps filled the arena as fans watched their childhood hero embrace arrogance, darkness, and rebellion. The red and yellow was gone. In its place, black and white. Hogan became Hollywood Hogan, a sneering, swaggering icon who mocked fans, broke rules, and relished the booze. It was more than a character shift. It was a seismic cultural event. Fans who had grown up with Hulkamania felt betrayed, yet they couldn't look away. Hogan's heel turn injected new life into the industry, propelling WCW to the top of the wrestling ratings war. It blurred the lines between good and evil, between the performer and the persona. Hogan wasn't just adapting, he was reinventing himself with chilling precision. The move proved his range, his daring, and his deep understanding of what wrestling truly is, a mirror to society's desires and fears. The same man who once told kids to eat their vitamins now shattered their innocence, and in doing so reached even greater storytelling heights. In the process, Hulk Hogan became something few wrestlers ever achieve, a living paradox. Loved and loathed, hero and villain, timeless and ever-changing. Beyond the ring, as the cheers of the ring began to quiet, Hogan's life outside the spotlight revealed new dimensions. The transition from icon to everyday man wasn't seamless, but it was revealing. Hogan's charisma couldn't be contained by the ropes and turnbuckles of the wrestling ring. He stormed into Hollywood, bringing his towering presence to a string of films that spanned action, comedy, and family genres. From Rocky III, where he played the bombastic Thunderlips, to cult favorites like Mr. Nanny and Suburban Commando, Hogan brought a unique mix of muscle and mischief to the screen. In the early 2000s, he took on a new role, reality TV patriarch. Hogan Knows Best invited cameras into his home and gave fans a peek behind the curtain. What they saw wasn't just the Hulkster in downtime. It was a man trying to be a father, trying to hold a family together under the weight of celebrity. The show revealed a different kind of strength, vulnerability. But fame off the mat came with its own body slams. Hogan endured a highly publicized divorce, family scandals, lawsuits, and a controversial leak that thrust his private life into an unwelcome spotlight. Through it all, he remained defiant, bruised, but unbroken. Still, Hogan continued to be a symbol of resilience. He appeared at conventions, on late-night shows, and in the halls of WWE history, always ready to drop a line, flex an arm, or inspire a cheer. His brand of larger-than-life optimism, even when life was anything but, never truly faded. A Warrior's final round. Even as the spotlight dimmed, Hogan never truly stepped away. His body bore the cost. Scars, surgeries, and slow steps replaced the slams and spectacle. But wherever fans gathered, the Hulkster showed up, still larger than life, still flashing that unmistakable smile. As tributes poured in after Hogan's passing, the wrestling world and far beyond mourned not just a colleague, but a cultural icon. The Rock wrote on social media, "From deep in my bones and on behalf of this wild and crazy world of professional wrestling that we love, I say to you now, and forever, thank you for the house, brother. R.I.P. Terry Bollea, a.k.a. Hulk Hogan." Vince McMahon, the man who built WWE into a global empire alongside Hogan, shared a heartfelt tribute on X. "The world lost a treasure today. Hulk Hogan was the greatest WWE superstar of all time, someone who was loved and admired around the world. He was a trailblazer, the first performer who transitioned from being a wrestling star into a global phenomenon." He leaves us with one of his favorite expressions: "Train, take your vitamins, and say your prayers." Today, we pray for him. Even rival wrestlers like Ric Flair said, "He was one of the first to visit me when I was in the hospital with a 2% chance of living, and he prayed by my bedside. Hulk also lent me money when Reed was sick. Hulkster, no one will ever compare to you. Rest in peace, my friend." WWE, in an official statement, shared, "WWE is saddened to learn WWE Hall of Famer Hulk Hogan has passed away. One of pop culture's most recognizable figures, Hogan helped WWE achieve global recognition in the 1980s. WWE extends its condolences to Hogan's family, friends, and fans." President Donald Trump, who once inducted Hogan into his own celebrity wing of the WWE Hall of Fame, shared on Truth Social, "We lost a great friend today, the Hulkster. Hulk Hogan was MAGA all the way. Strong, tough, smart, but with the biggest heart. One fan recalled meeting Hogan at a convention in 2019. He shook my hand, looked me in the eye, and called me brother. I was 9 again. For just a moment, the magic was real. From fans in faded Hulkamania shirts to fellow superstars who once stood across the ring from him, the message was universal. The man may be gone, but the presence remains. In every kid who tears a shirt in front of the mirror, in every chant of Hogan, Hogan at an old pay-per-view replay, in every memory of a red and yellow icon cupping his ear to a roaring crowd, Hulk. Hogan lives on. If Hogan inspired you too, drop a comment below with your favorite memory, or simply say, brother, we still believe. Or in Hogan's own words, heroes don't die, brother. They live forever in the hearts of the believers.